Hello everyone, my name's Marlo Webster. I'm a mental health nurse and I specialize in opioid addictions and alcohol withdrawal therapy. In addition to that, I work on and off in early intervention in psychosis services. And today I was on the Poetry Speaks event
on Abby and Dewdrop's page, which we used to do comic we read lives every 4 o'clock on Wednesdays. You can watch all of the IGTVs on our channel.
Awesome. And as I said, it was a grand finale today, so they were looking at poetry storytelling, and they had a back to school mental well-being session, which I was meant to relay information from Libratum Therapy Services. I did manage to give some of the information, but it was cut short. So I think to give it justice, I just wanted to delve deeper into what they were looking at, and also looking at preparing ourselves as parents and our children for getting back to school next week. In the UK, children go back to school next week. And the article, Returning Back to School, is by Dr. Neena Ramful. And I'll just start off with the introduction section. We looked at since March, we've all been doing things differently, many of us, and it's not just in the UK, it's worldwide due to the COVID-19 pandemic, global pandemic I should add. And we have all been out of our usual routines. And talking about going back to school, for some, they may experience a range of emotions. For some, they might feel excited to see their friends again. And for some, they might be a bit worried or scared and not sure what to expect in the new school year. And for many young people, they haven't been out much at all. And being around groups of people, they'll have to readjust for some. So we wanted to just identify this element during the show to look at preparing children for going back to school, because ideally Comic Read is directed at children, but again the parents watch as well. So this is also for the parents, so they can engage in this process with the children. And she also identified that there might be lots of questions, and trust me, these two have lots of questions, so I'm super grateful for this article as well in addressing some of those. And questions might take the form of, are there new or different things I might have to do when I return to school? Will I see my friends? Because some are leaving primary school, going off to secondary. In Daniel's case, is a totally new school for him. And will I be able to catch up with work? So in Daniel's case, he's starting a new school, so he doesn't have to catch up. Abigail has been doing work online at home. The school sent a lot of material home, so she has been keeping up to date with her work, but she's moving on to a new grade, which he's excited about. And again, as parents, we also have to acknowledge that we won't have all the answers. Neither will the institutions providing the education to our children, because everyone's going back to a new scenario basically that we've never had before. But there are some things you can do to help get back into a routine, and Dr. Ramful has identified 4 key factors. And the first one is talk openly about starting school and how you feel about it. And she highlights that it's okay to feel nervous about school, and equally at times feel quite excited. Talking about how we feel to a family member, friend, or teacher can be helpful to share any concerns we have. They might have ideas on ways of supporting you in returning back to school. Sometimes there might not be a clear answer to some of our worries, but when we talk to someone, our worries can become a little smaller. Are there things that you might be looking forward to when you return to school? So in addition to addressing the many concerns or worries that the child may have, we also have to acknowledge that there's things that they might be looking forward to. So it's been balanced, basically. That's actually the Latin meaning for liberatum. It's balance. So it's having everything in the right perspective. Yes, we have concerns. For example, the government highlighted yesterday that from year 7 up we'll be wearing masks. So that's something we didn't expect. So for Daniel, he'll need to wear a mask at school. I think in exception for when they're in the classroom. I'm not sure how that's going to work. So that's something new that we've had to discuss as a family. In addition to, he's looking forward to games at school, activities, and meeting new people. And again, what else did you identify that you're looking forward to?
I'm just looking forward to like changing my school and just complete like almost a fresh start.
Yeah, so a fresh start, that's how you identified it, isn't it? So again, it's just having these conversations with your children about the upcoming changes. And the second point was get in contact with friends. Because we know for many, since lockdown, the interaction that's normally there has been nil for some. Again, for good reasons. Some people might be shielding and therefore interacting with others isn't safe. Or some might be in vulnerable situations, so they're not able to get out and about as much as they can. And it might, as I said, feel a bit strange seeing your friends again face to face, especially if you haven't seen them in the last 6 months. So it's important. They encourage parents to arrange play dates if you have contact number for friends, meet up with friends before returning back to school. And again, as you meet up, is sharing any concerns you might have or any positive ideas on how to go back to school. And again, you might find that they have similar feelings to you when you talk to someone else. And they also highlight, be aware of the latest government guidelines when meeting up, keeping socially distanced. We know in many public places now, you have to wear a face mask whilst you're in the building. And we have to just adhere to that at the moment. It is part of what's required. So again, as parents, we also have to help the children adjust to that aspect of it, because again, we model behavior for them to copy. So it's important that we're mirroring what we'd like them to do as children. But you're back to football now as well, Daniel, isn't it? And we've been engaging with friends for the various age groups for Daniel and Abigail. And also Abby has been doing exercise with friends online via Instagram. You can actually do a video with her friends. It's private, just one-to-one, dancing, singing, gymnastics. So we actually got a gymnastic mat at home during that period, because a lot of the recreational activities that they used to attend was no longer available. The gyms and sports centers are reopening, but again, it's a gradual process. And again, we'll also need to find out how best to use those facilities to make sure the children are safe, the staff are safe during that time. So again, the second point is get in contact with friends. And the third point is go out again. And we might notice that we might not be doing as much activity and movement as before. And as adults, we know that can affect our moods. If you're not being active enough, it will affect your dopamine levels, which is the hormones that help to regulate mood. And again, similar for children, the more active they are, you can see it helps with their sleep, basically, and also their mood, and helps to burn up some of that energy that
that we always
have.
Full of.
Yes. So for some, especially those who haven't been going out at all, again, maybe for health reason, or depending on the setup of the family, someone wasn't at home or enough family members weren't there to help that child to go out and about, it might feel a little overwhelming at first. and but with some practice, like anything, you'll get back into the routine of it. But if it feels a bit overwhelming or making you overly anxious, then take it slowly. Do so in gradual stages, which is starting with going for a quiet walk with family members, and then build up going to longer walks or even walking to the park. And it's just making sure you feel comfortable. So check in with the child if they're happy with heading out, and also just making sure if you're adding extra steps, do it in a gradual way to just help them readjust. Because we're such busybodies anyways before lockdown, and which I also acknowledge during lockdown, I love going out because working during the week, come home, you have time to eat and basically sleep or help with homework, whatever, and that's it. So weekends I really love just going everywhere with the children, may it be galleries, exhibitions, or events, cultural events, and what else? And again, you've got your football activities as well.
And sometimes we just go out for fresh air.
Oh yes, and for fresh air.
And
also
walks.
For our favorite chocolate, isn't it?
Yeah.
In Brick Lane. So again, you have this routine, like every 3 months we try to go there, because at my age, too much sweetness no good. So I can't be having that lovely chocolate from Dark Sugars too often. But it's important to just be out and about. And with regards to going out, and whereas not going out much, your activities reduced, I must say I appreciate Patrick Hutchinson, not only for the heroic works he's done in saving someone's life, actually, in the recent events in London. I'll put his details below so you can see more. But he's also been offering live workout sessions on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings at 8 a.m. Initially, I just looked a few times and came off. I thought I couldn't do that. But since I've been engaging, this is the second week, I actually can see my mood lifting. Again, you're just sweating, so again, releasing toxins. It is just so good for me as an adult, so more so for the children who normally burn up immense amounts of energy at school, just running about, playing, being active, and engaging in extracurricular activities, which, as I said earlier, haven't been available to us during lockdown. So I appreciate Mr. Patrick Hutchinson as well. And then finally, the fourth point they're looking at is getting back to your sleeping pattern. As a mental health nurse, I know it's key to practice good sleep hygiene. And during lockdown, I had my wisdom tooth out, and I think for 2 weeks my sleep was disrupted. The pain was on a different level, and I don't like strong.
For 2 weeks, she struggled to do anything.
Yes, and that's partly on my part for not taking stronger painkillers when the pain was really there, basically. So I finally gave in and took stronger painkillers and just rested. So that affected my sleep pattern, and then there was so much unrest and uncertainty in the world in general. This pandemic, the injustices in America towards Black people, which heightened with the death of George Floyd, which even the children, because you're watching the news, you can't safeguard them from that, saw it, and it really affected them. So that also led to just lots of worries and anxiety on the mind, which can keep you awake. So a lot of things weighing on the mind isn't helpful either. So it's good to even talk about that. So again, just in general, sleep pattern has been disturbed, but also because we're in the northern hemisphere in Europe, the sun rises very early. Sun is up from 4 o'clock.
And she wakes up with the sunrise.
Yes, I'm actually in tune with the sunrise. So even without an alarm, when it's up, I'm up.
So that means she'll be awake at 6 o'clock sometimes, really early, and we'll be sleeping and wake up to her already on with her day.
Yes. So it's vital that we adjust, because summertime, it's much brighter at nighttime, so the children would stay up later anyways. But we always try to readjust that and look at sleep hygiene when they're getting back to school, which is getting back into the sleep pattern and routine they had prior to this period. And the article sets out a few ideas which could help, which is try setting an alarm in the morning to wake up a bit earlier than you normally would, based on sleeping later and going to bed later during the this lockdown period. So instead of having that 8 weeks break for summer, many children, including mine, have been going to bed later and waking up later for almost 6 months. So it's not just for the 2 months that we normally have, it's for a bit longer. So again, we just need to rebalance things basically. And again, reverse that sleep cycle for those who might be up late, maybe watching Netflix. I know I give myself a bit of a headache watching one series. I won't say what it was, but I didn't realize it just continues, and I thought, no, after that I haven't watched since, because now
she gave up on Netflix.
Yeah, so I learned my lesson. But again, say if you go to bed about 9 o'clock, you'll start the process for winding down at say 8:30, and it basically helps your brain to get into the zone of resetting. And there's a lot of research which explains that not using devices such as phones, tablets, and watching television before bed helps the mind to relax basically. However, if you're someone who can't just switch off, even in the case for a child, it's good to play them relaxing music, and also maybe engage in some reading, which we always do anyway since they're tiny. And also looking at relaxing exercises to just help with that. They also identify apps in this article such as Headspace, Calm, Stop, Breathe and Think, and that's 3 they've identified. And also speak to a family member to help you get advice on what suits you best. I know in addiction settings, during opiate detoxification, sleep disturbance, even in alcohol withdrawal, is quite worrisome for the patients, because again, if you're sleep deprived, it also impacts on your state of recovery. So we would administer sleep tea. I'm not recommending this, but I'm just identifying that there's sleep tea, that this is not part of the article as well, but there's tea that you can that helps with sleep as well. And for more information, you can look at the website bristolchildparentsupport.co.uk, and they have more information about preparing for sleep post-COVID. They also look at any worries on anxieties children may have going back to school, and useful tips and information to help you as a parent and the children. And they also look at the benefits for getting a good night's sleep. And I know as a mental health nurse, if you're sleep deprived for prolonged periods, even if you don't have an underlying mental health problem, you can develop symptoms of psychosis basically if you deprive yourself of sleep long enough. And just to finish off, I'll just summarize what was said earlier, and with the 4 major points, which is talk openly about how you're feeling about getting back to school with your child, get in contact with friends and start going out again if you haven't been doing so, and address sleep hygiene if it has been really bad during lockdown, and resetting your sleep pattern basically. So I'll just read the closing summary. Most importantly, remember that it has been a while since you've been in school, and it will take some time to get used to this new routine. Remember though, you're not alone in this, and there are many people that would be feeling similarly to you. All the pupils, teachers, parents are working and trying their very best as they can with managing this return to school in September. There might be some wobbly days, but there might also be some really wonderful days. And it's key to try and notice and remember the ones that go well. And for those days that don't, please speak to someone you trust about how you feel and how they can support you. So again, I'd just like to thank Libertum, which means balance. I want to thank that therapy service, Dr. Neena Ramful and Dr. Angelica Attard for getting that article out in a timely manner to help children and also parents about returning to school. They also will have one specifically for parents. As soon as that's out, I will share. And please look for their page on Instagram and follow for more wonderful advice during COVID. I really love the article from Dr. Attard at the start of the pandemic, which is a reminder for us to be compassionate with ourselves, because this year has been one that it's for the history books basically, because not only have people died, there's a lot of loss and grief, there's a lot of unrest, and there's still so much uncertainty about how we will live in a normal way basically. It's key to just be compassionate with ourselves and be aware of our own limitations, in that a lot of this we have no control over. So it's just going with the advice and support to make sure we keep ourselves safe, other families safe, and also care providers and teachers in institutions that we work in partnership with as they educate our children. Education starts at home, so that's the main place for it to start, especially from Caribbean background. But we respect and work in unison with the educational services and their staff. So it's also key, as a new term starts, make sure you get involved with whatever activities they have about helping parents and families be aware of the changes. And also for my little Daniel, who's starting a new secondary school, I'll have the opportunity to meet new teachers and find out more about the school, basically how it runs, because when you go to open days you see all the good things that they have on offer, but it's not until you're there that you actually get to meet, greet and engage effectively with these people. And I can go back to my first day of high school. I hated the uniform, I hated the color, it was blue, and because I had this school in my head that I wanted to go to, I won't name names on here, but this school I went to, yes, it has a good reputation. It wasn't my first choice, but it was closer to home, very reputable, but I hated the blue uniform. So for me as a child then, it was, now as an adult I thought, why didn't I just talk about it instead of being miserable at school for some time because of this uniform? So again, just looking back on my own experiences, and that first week, because my name got mixed up when the names were called, I went to 3 different classes in that first week until they finally found my class, because I think my name was mixed up with Narda Powell. I'm Marlo Powell back then, I'm Marlo Webster now, and another girl as well. But yeah, so it was a really challenging first week, and it just added to the fact that I didn't like the uniform. But now, guess what? I love blue. Yes. So again, even as my son's here, Daniel, as I record this, I just want him to be aware, be open, let us know how you're feeling. And it's important for children to have that level of awareness that they can be open with their parents. Let them know how they're feeling. Let their voices be heard. So thank you again, Libratum, and good night, everyone. Bye.